Welcome back to Linas Romantasy collection, where the alphas are dangerously dominant, but the heroines always hold their ground. Quick question for the pack before we dive into today's delicious chaos. Where are you listening from right now? Let me know in the comments, and drop a paw print emoji if your pet is currently judging your audiobook choices, or trying to steal your shiny things. Today, we have a very special slow burn romance. It's funny, it's intense, and it involves a fiercely independent chef, a towering alpha king in hiding, and a tiny ferret with very expensive taste. But before we start, if you want to support the channel and get early access to exclusive stories like this, hit that join button down below. It helps keep the lights on and the Romantasy stories flowing. Just make sure to hit like and subscribe before our resident ferret steals your screen. Swiper, no swiping! Now, take a deep breath and grab your spatula. The kitchen is hot, and the Alpha King is about to get more than he bargained for. Let's dive in. Chapter 1. The tires of Tori's vintage cherry red coupe crunched on the gravel. She stopped the car outside the massive Caelum estate. She turned off the engine. The courtyard was completely silent. The huge stone house stood in front of them. It looked powerful and intimidating. Tori held the steering wheel tight. Her skin was a striking porcelain complexion, and her knuckles turned white. She thought about the astronomical debt destroying her life. Elias, her corrupt former alpha, had left her family in ruins. This catering job was not just another party. It was a desperate plan. She needed this contract to wipe out her debt forever. She had to save her family's culinary legacy. "You are staring at the wheel again," Lachlan said. He sat in the passenger seat. Her brother gave her a supportive smile. He was a loyal beta and her grounding force. "We have a highly lucrative contract to finish today. Let the eccentric billionaire pay the bill. We just need to cook." "I am only planning the prep work in my head," Tori said. She smiled back at him. She unbuckled her seatbelt. "Let us go inside. We need to check the kitchen before the temporary workers ruin the food." Tori and Lachlan got out of the car. They walked to the trunk. Tori opened her heavy equipment box. She took out a locked leather sheath. She quickly unlocked it. Inside was her personalized carbon steel spatula. She held the cool metal in her hand. Then, she put on her heavy canvas apron. She checked the custom reinforced front pocket. Suddenly, a silver blur jumped from the back seat. It dove straight into her apron pocket. It was Swiper, her domestic ferret. He was hyperactive and pugnacious. Swiper chattered loudly. He dug deep into the tough fabric. "Keep him inside that pocket," Lachlan warned. He lifted a large wooden crate of fresh vegetables. "If he steals any shiny silver spoons, we will lose our profits." "Swiper is a professional," Tori replied. She tapped the ferret's nose gently. "He will behave." They walked toward the house. They used the service entrance and pushed open the heavy double doors. They stepped into the main kitchen. Tori stopped walking. The room was a complete disaster. Temporary workers ran around with no plan. Hot pans smoked on the stoves. Expensive cuts of meat sat too close to the heat. Dirty knives lay on clean cutting boards. It was a dangerous mess. Tori did not yell. She walked right into the middle of the room. She held up her carbon steel spatula. She tapped it against her hand. Smack, smack, smack. The sharp metal sound cut through the noise. Everyone froze. The workers turned to look at her. Tori stood tall. Her cascading, raven-dark hair was tied back. Her fierce, expressive eyes looked at every single mistake in the room. "Good morning," Tori said. Her voice was polite but full of lethal sarcasm. I am Tori. I see you have created a total disaster. You are ruining good food. That stops right now." She pointed her spatula at a scared worker. "You, move that meat into the fridge. If you leave it out again, I will throw you out the door." She pointed at 2 more workers. "You 2, clean those tables, wash the cutting boards. This kitchen is my space now. You will follow my rules. If you put one item in the wrong place, you will deal with me." The workers stared at her. Her confidence shocked them. Then they rushed to follow her orders. Delon laughed quietly. He put his heavy crate on a clean table. "She is ready to work today. Let us get started." Tori moved fast. In 1 hour, the kitchen completely changed. The chaos was gone. Everyone worked quickly and safely. The room smelled like melting butter and roasting garlic. Delon stood at his table. He chopped red tomatoes perfectly. His knife moved in a fast blur. Tori worked at her own station. She took out fresh green asparagus. She cut the ends off with total focus. She planned the cooking times in her head. Tori felt lonely sometimes, but she hid it well. Right now, she only cared about success. She brought bright, vibrant energy into the room. She did not force people to work. She just led them well. Swiper poked his head out of her pocket. He looked around the clean kitchen. His dark eyes searched for shiny metal. Tori pushed him back down. "Not right now, Swiper. We have work to do." Chapter 2. The kitchen ran smoothly. The loud panic from the morning was completely gone. Now the room was full of organized sounds. Knives chopped vegetables, meat sizzled in hot pans. Water boiled in large pots. Tori walked between the tables. She watched the workers. She helped the ones who needed it. She corrected the ones who made mistakes. She was fast and direct. "Delon, check the sauce on the stove," Tori ordered. She did not look up. She carefully filled small pastry shells with a rich cheese mixture. "I am checking it now," Delon answered from the middle island. Suddenly, he lunged forward. His hand grabbed a fast silver blur on the table. "Hey, drop that!" Swiper hissed loudly. The small ferret held a shiny silver whisk in his paws. He had climbed up the table while Tori was busy. Delon took the whisk away from the ferret. He placed the whisk back inside the correct drawer and closed it. Swiper ran back to Tori. He jumped into her reinforced apron pocket and complained loudly. "I told you he would steal things," Delon said. He wiped his hands on a towel. "He just wants to help us cook," Tori said. Her face was serious, but her expressive eyes looked highly amused. 3 floors above the kitchen, Lachlan walked down a quiet hallway. Lachlan was the Alpha King. He was a huge man with broad shoulders. His intense, predatory, intense gaze made people nervous. He held massive power. But right now, he was hiding. He walked down a secret servant hallway to get away from his guards. He hated fake people who only wanted to please him. The politicians in his meeting were very annoying today. He needed a break. While he walked, Lachlan used a special trick. His parents had taught him how to hide his strong alpha energy. He pulled his power deep inside himself. It took a lot of mental focus. To anyone else, he just felt like a normal, rich beta. He needed this disguise so he could find some peace. He walked down the stairs. He reached the heavy doors of the main kitchen. Usually the cooks were terrified of him. They ran away when he walked in. Today, he just wanted to stand in the corner. He wanted to watch the cooking and forget his heavy crown. Lachlan pushed the doors open. He stepped inside. He noticed the change immediately. The room was not scared or tense. It was full of focused, bright energy. He looked around. His golden gaze found Tori at the main counter. Tori stood under the bright lights. Her dark hair looked beautiful against her pale skin. She was talking to a young helper. She did not sound scared. She sounded smart and completely in charge. Lachlan walked closer. He kept his alpha aura hidden. As he walked, a wonderful smell hit the air. It was a vibrant blend of wild orchid and black pepper. The scent was fresh and sharp. It cut through the heavy smells of roasting meat. It was Tori's signature scent. Lachlan breathed it in. It surprised him. He leaned against an empty metal table. He crossed his arms over his wide chest. He relaxed his body. He watched Tori work. He really liked how she controlled the room. Tori looked at the young helper. The boy was chopping onions badly. "Stop," Tori said. Her voice was polite but dangerous. "If you keep hitting that vegetable like a madman, it will turn into mush. If you ruin my food, I will chop you up and serve you to the guests." Lachlan laughed out loud. It was a deep, quiet sound, but the kitchen was so focused that everyone heard it. Tori stopped moving. She held her carbon steel spatula. She turned around slowly. Her sharp, dark eyes locked right onto him. Lachlan did not look away. He smiled at her. It was a genuine, bright smile. He loved that she had no idea he was the king. For the first time all day, he felt completely awake. He enjoyed the quiet challenge in her stare. The politicians upstairs always agreed with everything he said. They bowed their heads and spoke in soft voices, but this woman did not bow. She glared at him like he was just another problem to solve. Lachlan found it absolutely thrilling. He stayed leaning against the metal table, waiting to see what she would do next. The heavy stress of his royal duties simply faded away. Here, in this loud and busy room, he was just a man watching a very impressive woman. Chapter 3. Tori narrowed her eyes. She looked at the giant man leaning against her clean prep table. He looked dangerous and powerful. He did not look like a kitchen worker. His predatory eyes shined with amusement. That amusement annoyed Tori immediately. She smelled his scent. He smelled clean and rich, but normal. She thought he was just a wealthy beta guest who got lost. "Can I help you?" Tori asked. Her voice was thick with sharp sarcasm. "Or do you just want to stand there and block my walkway?" Lachlan smiled wider. He pushed away from the table. He took a slow step toward her. "I am just watching," he said. "The kitchen runs much better today." "I know that," Tori said. She turned back to her food. She carefully placed small golden truffle tarts onto a tray. "That is why I do not like people standing around. The door is right behind you. You can leave now." Lachlan did not leave. He walked right up to her table. His huge body cast a shadow over her work. He looked down at the beautiful truffle tarts. They smelled amazing. "These look perfect," Lachlan said. He reached his large hand out. He tried to pick up one of the tarts from the tray. Smack! The loud sound echoed in the kitchen. Tori swung her carbon steel spatula fast. She hit the back of his hand, hard. She did not hesitate. She protected her food. Lachlan stopped moving. He did not pull his hand back. He did not yell in pain. He slowly turned his head. His amber eyes stared right into her dark eyes. The whole kitchen went dead silent. The workers stopped chopping. Delon stopped stirring his sauce. He stood up straight, ready to fight. "Do not touch my food," Tori said. Her voice was perfectly calm and commanding. She tapped the steel spatula against her palm. She thought of a sharp insult. If you want to keep your fingers, you will keep your hands to yourself. Lachlan just stared at her. For 1 second, his control slipped. A tiny wave of his real alpha power leaked out. Then he hid it again. His body relaxed. His dangerous look vanished. He looked highly amused again. Before Tori could blink, Lachlan moved. He moved his hand away from the food. Instead, he grabbed her waist. His grip was firm and strong. He held her in place. Tori gasped. Her heart beat a fast, hard drum against her ribs. He was so close. He smelled like wood smoke and something deeply powerful. His smell mixed with her vibrant blend of wild orchid and black pepper. Lachlan leaned his face down. He was only inches away from her nose. "I like it rough, too," he whispered. His voice was deep and smooth. It sent a sudden shiver down her back. The chemistry between them flared up like a fire. Tori was a fiercely independent woman. She never let anyone touch her without permission. But looking into his deep eyes, she felt a strong pull. He was not trying to scare her. He was playing a game with her. Suddenly, Swiper popped his furry head out of Tori's pocket. The ferret looked right at Lachlan's chest and chattered angrily. Lachlan looked down at the pet. He gently touched the heavy canvas apron near her waist. "Your ferret has a lot to say," Lachlan joked. "He is deciding if he wants to bite you," Tori said firmly. She kept her voice steady. "Let go of my waist right now. If you do not, I will let him attack you." Lachlan laughed. The sound rumbled in his broad chest. He did not let go right away. He enjoyed the fight too much. He stood there holding a brave chef who absolutely refused to back down. He had never met anyone like her before. She was completely refreshing. Tori held her ground. She did not try to pull away. She knew struggling would make him hold tighter. Instead, she lifted her chin. She looked right back at him. She refused to show any fear. She had a ruinous financial deficit to pay off. She could not let a handsome, annoying guest ruin her focus. "I am counting to 3, Tori warned him. Her spatula rested flat against his chest. 1, 2. Lachlan watched her lips move. The intense moment hung in the air. The rest of the kitchen simply stared at them, completely frozen in shock. Chapter 4. Tori and Lachlan stared at each other. The silence felt heavy and electric. Tori did not blink. She held the handle of her carbon steel spatula tightly. Her soft skin showed zero fear. "Let go," Tori said. Her voice was low and serious. "Or you will become the main course tonight." Lachlan saw the fire in her eyes. He finally opened his hands. He stepped back slowly. He reached up and rubbed the back of his neck. It was a funny, boyish habit for such a huge, scary man. "I am sorry," Lachlan said. He smiled. He did not sound sorry at all. "I forget my manners sometimes. Your food just looks too good." Tori opened her mouth to tell him off. Before she could speak, the heavy kitchen door swung open. 2 royal enforcers walked inside. They wore dark, tactical clothes. They looked around the room. Their eyes found Lachlan immediately. "Sir," the first enforcer said. His voice was very flat and professional. "The politicians are waiting for you. They need to talk about the land taxes. They are getting angry." Lachlan sighed loudly. The bright smile left his face. He suddenly looked very tired and burdened. He took a step away from Tori's prep table. The second enforcer leaned closer to Lachlan. "Are you hiding in the kitchen again, sir?" the guard asked quietly. He smiled just a little bit. I did not know you liked cooking so much. Lachlan shot the guard a dark, warning glare. The enforcer stood up straight and stopped smiling. Tell the politicians I need 10 more minutes to read the papers, Lachlan commanded. His voice held raw, heavy power. The two guards nodded their heads. They turned around and walked out. The heavy doors closed behind them. Lachlan turned back around. He wanted to lean on the metal table again. Tori was waiting for him. She held her spatula up. She pointed the flat metal edge right at his chest. No, Tori said. You are leaving. You messed up my kitchen flow. You annoyed my brother. You made my ferret mad. You are banned from this room. Lachlan stopped walking. He put a large hand over his heart like he was hurt. Banned? I am not doing anything wrong. I just want to talk to someone smart. The people upstairs are very boring today. I am a chef. I am not your friend, Tori said. She stepped forward to claim her space. I have a crazily expensive contract to finish. I have a huge debt to pay. I do not have time to play games with a lost guest. Lachlan looked at her. His face grew soft. He liked asking questions to learn about people. Her honesty was amazing. She did not try to kiss up to him. You are under a lot of stress, he said gently. I am on a tight schedule, Tori corrected him. She refused to look weak. She pointed the spatula at the doors. Get out. Lachlan waited. For a second, he really wanted to stay. The kitchen felt alive and real. The rest of the huge house felt dead. But he respected her rules. He smiled again. Okay, Tori, Lachlan said softly. He took a step backward toward the exit. I will leave you alone to work, but those truffle tarts better taste perfect tonight. They will be perfect, Tori promised. She finally lowered her spatula, if no one tries to steal them first. Lachlan laughed a warm, deep laugh. He rubbed the back of his neck one more time. Then, he pushed the heavy doors open and walked out into the hallway. Tori stood still for a minute. The air still smelled like his wood smoke scent mixed with her wild orchid. Delon walked over to her. He carried a tray of clean glasses. Well, Delon said. He raised his eyebrows. That guy was intense. He was in the way, Tori said quickly. She pushed her quiet feelings down. She focused on her hard work instead. Check the oven heat, Delon. We have a job to do. Chapter 5. Tori stood in the massive kitchen. She wiped the clean metal counter with a white cloth. Her heavy canvas apron protected her clothes. Swiper, her silver ferret, sat next to a bowl of fresh lemons. He watched her work. The heavy double doors opened. Lachlan walked inside. He looked exhausted. His meeting with the politicians was finally over. He walked straight toward Tori. He kept his strong alpha aura completely hidden. He just felt like a very tall, handsome beta. You came back, Tori said. She did not stop cleaning. I needed a break, Lachlan answered. He stopped right next to her. He smelled deeply of wood smoke. It blended perfectly with her vibrant wild orchid and black pepper scent. Lachlan leaned against the counter. He reached into his dark trousers. He had a heavy, intricate silver signet ring in his pocket. He always kept it hidden. It carried his royal crest. If anyone saw it, they would know he was the Alpha King. Swiper noticed the movement. The ferret loved shiny objects. Swiper jumped from the counter. He landed right on Lachlan's leg. The ferret quickly dug his small paws into Lachlan's pocket. "Hey," Lachlan said. He looked down in surprise. Swiper pulled out the heavy silver ring. He grabbed it in his tiny teeth. Then he jumped back to the floor and ran. Lachlan's striking eyes went wide. Total panic hit him. "Stop that ferret!" "Swiper, no!" Tori yelled. The silver ferret ran out the open kitchen doors. He moved incredibly fast. Lachlan chased right behind him. Tori dropped her cloth and ran after the giant man. They sprinted down the long, luxurious hallway. "Drop it!" Lachlan shouted. He ran past expensive paintings and tall windows. Swiper did not drop it. The ferret darted around a corner. He ran into a large open room. It was the estate's game room. A massive wooden billiards table sat in the center. Lachlan slid on the polished floor. He lunged forward. His big hands trapped the soft ferret against the soft green felt of the pool table. "Got you," Lachlan breathed out. Tori ran into the room right behind him. She was out of breath. "Did he bite you?" Lachlan quickly opened the ferret's mouth. He pulled the silver ring free. He hid it inside his closed fist before Tori could see the royal crest. He immediately shoved his hand deep into his pocket. "He did not bite me," Lachlan said. He let the ferret go. Swiper chattered angrily and ran to Tori. The ferret climbed up her leg and dove straight into her reinforced apron pocket. Tori crossed her arms. Her long, dark hair fell over her shoulders. "I apologize. He is a terrible thief." "He has very expensive taste," Lachlan joked. He looked at the billiards table. He wanted to change the subject quickly. He pointed to the wooden cues on the wall. "Do you play?" Tori followed his finger. "I play very well." "I doubt you can beat me," Lachlan challenged her. His bright eyes shined with playful rivalry. Tori walked over to the wall. She carefully took 2 wooden cues from the rack. She handed one to him. Then she picked up a small blue chalk cube. She rubbed it against the tip of her cue. "Prepare to lose," Tori said. Her pale features showed pure confidence. They started the game. The sound of hard balls hitting each other filled the room. The tension completely changed. They were not fighting anymore. They were playing. Lachlan made a difficult shot. He smiled proudly. Tori stepped up and made an even harder shot. She completely ruined his setup. Lachlan laughed out loud. He habitually rubbed the back of his neck. He watched her move around the table. He loved her sharp focus. She did not act scared of him. She just wanted to win. "You are highly competitive," Lachlan noted. "I just enjoy winning," Tori replied. She hit the final black ball right into the corner pocket. "Game over." Lachlan put his cue down. He was totally amazed by her. He had never met a woman so fiercely independent and bold. The chemistry between them grew stronger. It was no longer just combative. It was full of genuine interest. Lachlan walked closer to her. The game was over, but he did not want to leave. "You won fairly," he admitted. He looked down at her narrowed, expressive eyes. "I demand a rematch later." Tori tapped her cue on the ground. She smiled, a genuine, vibrant smile. "Whenever you are ready to lose again, just let me know." Chapter 6. They stood together in the quiet game room. Tori subtly placed her wooden cue back onto the wall rack. She put the blue chalk cube neatly beside it. Lachlan did the exact same thing. He mirrored her careful actions. "You are very focused," Lachlan said. He leaned his broad chest against the edge of the billiards table. "Even when you play a simple game." Tori smoothed the front of her heavy canvas apron. "I have to be focused. My family depends entirely on me." Lachlan watched her. He loved her direct honesty. He wanted to know more about her. Why do you work so hard? You run that kitchen like a military general." Tori looked away. Her piercing dark eyes softened just a little bit. The quiet loneliness she usually hid slipped out. "I have a massive financial deficit to clear. It is a staggering amount of money. My family owned a highly esteemed restaurant. It was our proud legacy." "What happened to it?" Lachlan asked softly. His voice lacked any royal authority. He just sounded like a man who genuinely cared. "Elias happened," Tori said. Her voice grew hard. "He was the alpha of our pack. He was completely corrupt. He ruined our local economy with his terrible management. He stole funds and destroyed businesses. He left my family with crippling debt. Now he is disgraced and gone. But the debt stayed with us." Lachlan tightened his jaw. He hated corrupt leaders. He hated hearing that someone hurt her family. He kept his intense gaze fixed on her fair face. "That is highly unfair," Lachlan stated. "A true leader protects their people. They do not steal from them." "The world is rarely fair," Tori replied logically. She looked back at him. "That is why I took this ridiculously expensive catering contract. When I finish this job, the payout will completely erase my debt. I will save our restaurant. I do not have time for distractions." Lachlan nodded slowly. He finally understood her relentless ambition. She was fighting a war for her family's survival. "I understand heavy burdens," Lachlan said quietly. He looked down at his large hands. He carefully omitted his royal title. He did not mention his custom midnight blue hypercar or his massive wealth. "I carry a lot of responsibility, too. People expect me to solve all their problems. It is a very lonely position." Tori tilted her head. She saw the real exhaustion in his strong face. He was not just an eccentric guest. He was a man carrying a heavy load. "Do you have family to help you?" Tori asked gently. "My parents passed away," Lachlan shared. The old pain echoed in his deep voice. "They taught me everything I know. Since they left, I have been entirely alone at the top. Everyone around me just wants a favor. They tell me what they think I want to hear. No one ever tells me the truth." He looked right into her eyes. "Until I walked into your kitchen, you told me exactly what you thought." Tori felt a strange warmth spread in her chest. She realized they shared an unexpected common ground. They both felt isolated by their massive duties. "If you walk into my kitchen and ruin my prep sequence, I will always tell you the truth," Tori promised, with a small, witty smile. Lachlan laughed softly. The heavy weight of his kingdom vanished for a beautiful moment. "I appreciate that more than you know." Tori took a deep breath. Her vibrant blend of wild orchid and black pepper filled the space between them. "I should return to work. Delon is probably worrying about the main courses." "Of course," Lachlan agreed. He stood up straight. He respected her space perfectly. "I will let you conquer the kitchen." They walked out of the game room together. The combative tension was completely gone. It was replaced by a profound, quiet understanding. Lachlan realized he wanted to spend every single minute with her. Tori realized the towering man was much deeper and kinder than she first believed. As they reached the hallway intersection, Lachlan paused. "Thank you for the conversation, Tori. It was incredibly refreshing." "You are welcome," Tori replied politely. She turned and walked back toward the busy kitchen. She touched her apron pocket to check on Swiper. Her heart beat with a steady, warm rhythm. She smiled to herself. Chapter 7. The next morning, the Caelum estate kitchen was moving at a rigorous pace again. Tori chopped fresh herbs on her clean metal table. Delon worked right across from her. He looked at his sister with a serious, grounded expression. "You disappeared yesterday," Delon noted. He chopped a large carrot with perfect speed. "You ran out after the ferret, but you stayed gone for 20 minutes. Tori kept her eyes on her herbs. "I had to retrieve Swiper. He stole a silver ring from one of the guests." "That tall guest?" Delon asked. He stopped chopping. He pointed his knife at her. "The huge guy with the intense gaze?" "Yes," Tori admitted softly. Delon sighed. He put his knife down. "Tori, listen to me. We are here to do a job. We have a crippling financial deficit to clear. We cannot mess this up. That man lives in this opulent estate. He is likely an eccentric billionaire or a high-ranking politician. You cannot play games with him." "I am not playing games," Tori defended herself. "We just talked." "Maintain strict professional boundaries," Delon reminded her. He was a fiercely loyal brother. He just wanted to protect her. "If you upset him, he could complain to the owner. We could lose our entire payout." "I understand," Tori agreed. She gathered the chopped herbs into a neat pile. "I will stay completely focused." Right at that exact moment, the heavy double doors opened. Lachlan walked into the kitchen. He wore a clean white shirt. He rolled the sleeves up, showing his heavily muscled arms. He actively suppressed his alpha aura again. He smiled brightly when he saw Tori. He totally ignored Delon's stern warning look. "Good morning," Lachlan announced cheerfully. Tori felt a sudden happy jump in her chest. She quickly pushed the feeling down. She remembered Delon's warning. "Good morning. We are very busy today. Are you lost again?" "Not at all," Lachlan replied. He walked right up to her prep station. "I came to help. I want to assist you." Delon let out a loud, highly doubtful laugh. He quickly turned his back to stir a large pot of soup. Tori stared at the towering man. "You want to cook?" "Exactly," Lachlan said. He looked highly confident. "I am a fast learner. Put me to work." Tori crossed her arms. Her carbon steel spatula rested on the table. She wanted to banish him again, but he looked so eager. "Fine. You can mix the dry ingredients for the bread. It is very simple." Tori retrieved a massive glass bowl from the shelf. She placed it on the table. She handed Lachlan a large metal whisk. She measured out flour, salt, and yeast into the bowl. "Just whisk this together," Tori instructed politely. "Do it slowly. Do not make a mess." Lachlan took the whisk. He looked at the white powder. "This is incredibly simple." He put the whisk into the bowl. Because he possessed raw, lethal strength, he did not know how to be gentle. He stirred the flour with massive force. A huge cloud of white flour exploded out of the bowl. The white powder flew everywhere. It covered the clean stainless steel counter. It covered Lachlan's dark trousers. It covered his black hair. A thick layer of flour landed right on Tori's heavy canvas apron. Lachlan froze. He held the whisk perfectly still. His face was completely white with flour. He blinked his eyes. The entire kitchen went completely silent. Everyone watched the disaster. Delon slowly turned around. He looked at the massive mess. He shook his head and went back to stirring his soup. From inside Tori's pocket, Swiper poked his head out. The ferret sneezed loudly. A small puff of white flour blew out of his tiny nose. Lachlan slowly turned his head to look at Tori. He looked incredibly guilty. He reached up and habitually rubbed the back of his neck. He left a white handprint in his dark hair. I used too much force, Lachlan admitted quietly. His voice was full of humorous regret. Tori stared at him. She looked at her ruined workspace. She thought about yelling. She thought about kicking him out forever. But he looked so ridiculous. He looked like a giant, dangerous warrior defeated by baking supplies. Tori tried to stay angry, but she failed. A bright, genuine laugh escaped her lips. Her laugh sounded like music in the quiet room. Lachlan smiled back. He loved the sound of her joy. The terrible culinary disaster was completely worth it just to see her smile like that. Chapter 8. Tori stopped laughing. She grabbed a clean towel. She wiped the thick flour off her skin. Then she handed another clean towel to Lachlan. "Wipe your face," Tori instructed softly. "You look like a ghost." Lachlan took the towel. He quickly cleaned his face and his hair. He looked down at the massive mess he created. "I deeply apologize. I wanted to help you, not destroy your kitchen." Tori looked at him. She saw his genuine desire to be useful. He did not act arrogant or entitled. He just wanted to spend time in her domain. Tori's strict rules softened. She decided to compromise. "I will not banish you this time," Tori said reasonably. She tapped her carbon steel spatula against her palm. "But you will clean this counter perfectly." "I accept those terms," Lachlan agreed immediately. He retrieved a damp cloth from the sink. He wiped the stainless steel table until it shined perfectly. He cleaned up every single drop of flour. He worked carefully and quietly. When the table was spotless, Tori placed a new glass bowl down. She measured the flour, salt, and yeast again. "Now," Tori said politely, "I will teach you how to do this correctly." Lachlan stepped close to her. He paid strict attention. He was an alpha king who commanded armies, but right now, he was a highly obedient student. "Take the whisk," Tori commanded. Lachlan held the metal whisk, his massive hand completely wrapped around the handle. "Your grip is too tight," Tori noticed. "You are holding it like a weapon." Tori stepped right next to him. She reached out and placed her delicate hands directly over his large hand. Lachlan's breath caught in his throat. Her touch sent a jolt of heat straight up his arm. Her vibrant scent of wild orchid and black pepper surrounded him completely. "Relax your fingers," Tori murmured. She gently adjusted his grip on the metal handle. "You do not need to conquer the flour. You just need to blend it." Lachlan relaxed his hand. He let her guide his movements. Tori slowly moved his hand in a smooth, circular motion. The whisk slid through the dry ingredients perfectly. No flour flew into the air. "See?" Tori asked softly. She looked up at his face. "It is about control, not raw power." Lachlan looked down into her bright, expressive eyes. They were only inches apart. He was deeply moved by her willingness to share her space. She was fiercely independent, but she was patiently teaching him. "You are an excellent teacher," Lachlan whispered. His intense gaze locked onto hers. The palpable chemistry between them spiked again. Tori slowly pulled her hands away. She felt a sudden flush of heat on her cheeks. She took a tiny step backward to maintain her professional boundary. "You just need to pay attention." Lachlan continued to whisk the bowl slowly. He did it perfectly this time. "I assure you, Tori, I am paying very close attention to everything you do." From across the kitchen, Delon watched them. The Beta brother frowned slightly, but he did not interrupt. He saw the genuine respect in the giant man's eyes. Lachlan finished mixing the bowl. He carefully placed the whisk down on the table. "What is the next step?" Now we add the water and knead the dough, Tori explained. She poured warm water into the bowl. She began to mix it with her hands. Lachlan watched her skilled movements. He felt a profound sense of peace standing next to her. The heavy burden of his crown felt very far away. He realized he did not just want her food. He wanted her vibrant energy in his life, permanently. You work incredibly hard, Lachlan noted quietly. I enjoy my work, Tori replied. She pushed her hands into the soft dough. It keeps my mind busy. It stops me from worrying about the future. Lachlan nodded. He understood completely. Sometimes, the best way to forget your problems is to focus on something entirely new. He looked at the dough on the table. May I try kneading it? He asked politely. Tori smiled. She stepped aside and offered him the space. Go ahead. Use the heel of your hand. Push forward and fold it back. Lachlan pushed his hands into the dough. He followed her exact instructions. He worked the bread carefully. They stood shoulder to shoulder in the busy kitchen, sharing a quiet, beautiful moment of perfect teamwork. Chapter 9. The kitchen was very busy. Tori worked at her metal table. She stirred a rich sauce in a large pot. She thought about her past. She remembered her father's old restaurant. Before Elias ruined their lives, her father used a very special spice. It was called crimson rock salt. It gave the food a perfect, magical taste. Tori had not seen that rare salt in years. It was an obscenely expensive ingredient now. She missed it very much. The heavy double doors opened. Lachlan walked into the room. He wore a dark shirt and dark trousers. He looked very handsome. He held a small wooden box in his large hands. He walked straight toward Tori. Delon watched him from the other side of the room, but Delon stayed quiet. Hello, Tori, Lachlan said. He smiled his genuine bright smile. He stopped right next to her table. His wood smoke scent mixed perfectly with her wild orchid and black pepper scent. Hello, Tori answered. She put her wooden spoon down. She wiped her hands on her heavy canvas apron. Are you here to bake bread again? Because I do not have time to clean up another flower explosion today. Lachlan laughed. The deep sound filled the kitchen. No baking today. I brought you something. I heard you talking to Delon yesterday. You mentioned a specific spice. You said you needed it for the main dish. Lachlan placed the small wooden box on the metal table. He opened the lid. Tori gasped. Inside the box was a large pile of red crystals. It was pure, crimson rock salt. It was incredibly rare. It was very hard to find anywhere in the country. How did you get this? Tori asked. Her wide, dark eyes looked up at him. She was completely shocked. This is a luxurious item. It is almost impossible to buy. I have some good connections, Lachlan answered softly. He kept his royal title a secret. He just wanted to see her happy. I want your food to be perfect. I want to help you succeed. Tori felt a strange warmth in her chest. No one ever did nice things for her without asking for a favor first. She looked at the red salt. It brought back a flood of memories. My father used this salt every single day, Tori said quietly. She looked at the red crystals. He was a brilliant chef. We had a beautiful restaurant. But Elias took everything from us. Elias was completely corrupt. He lied to his people. He stole their money. He broke my father's heart. After that, my father lost his spark. He stopped cooking. He gave up. Lachlan moved a little closer to her. He hated hearing about her pain. Elias was a coward. A real leader protects his pack. He does not break them. Tori looked up at his strong face. You understand leadership. You told me you have heavy burdens. I do, Lachlan said. His deep gaze locked deep into hers. My parents were the leaders before me. They were strong and fair. But they died in a sudden attack at the border. I was very young. I had to learn how to lead all by myself. I had to read their old books to learn how to survive. It was incredibly lonely. I had to build thick walls around my heart to protect myself. Tori understood his pain perfectly. They both lost their guides too early. They both had to become strong to survive. You built walls, Tori said softly. I built a kitchen. I focused entirely on cooking. I hid behind my heavy canvas apron. Lachlan gently touched the edge of her table. You do not need to hide from me, Tori. I only want to support you. Tori smiled a real, beautiful smile. She reached out and touched the wooden box. Thank you for the salt, Lachlan. This is a very thoughtful gift. It means a lot to me. You are welcome, Lachlan said. He looked highly pleased. Now, use it to make the best meal this estate has ever seen. Tori picked up her wooden spoon. She felt a bright, vibrant energy flowing through her body. She grabbed a small pinch of the crimson rock salt. She dropped it into her sauce. I will make a masterpiece. Just stay out of my way. Lachlan laughed again. He stepped back to give her space. He watched her work. He realized he was falling for this fierce, independent chef. He did not care about his royal duties right now. He only cared about the remarkable woman standing right in front of him. Chapter 10. The evening air was cool and fresh. The kitchen was finally clean. The hardest prep work was completely finished. Tori needed a break. She walked out of the kitchen and stepped onto the large stone terrace. The terrace looked out over the massive gardens. The stars shined brightly in the dark sky. Tori took a deep breath. She still wore her heavy canvas apron. Her carbon steel spatula was safely tucked into her sheath. Swiper the ferret was fast asleep in her reinforced pocket. He felt like a warm, soft rock against her stomach. Tori leaned against the cool stone wall. She closed her eyes. She thought about Lachlan. She thought about the rare red salt he brought her. He was a very strange man. He was huge and intimidating, but he was also kind and thoughtful. He listened to her. He respected her strict rules. He was nothing like the terrible men she knew in her past. She heard soft footsteps on the stone behind her. Tori opened her eyes and turned around. Lachlan walked onto the terrace. He moved very quietly for such a large man. The moonlight shined on his dark hair and his broad shoulders. I thought I might find you out here, Lachlan said. He walked over to the wall. He stood right next to her. They looked out at the dark gardens together. I needed some fresh air, Tori replied. The kitchen gets very hot. You did an amazing job today, Lachlan told her. The food smells incredible. Everyone in the estate is talking about the catering. That is exactly what I want to hear, Tori said. She smiled proudly. I need this contract to be a total success. I need that payout to save my family. Lachlan turned his head to look at her. You are going to save your family. I am completely sure of it. You are the strongest person I know. Tori looked up at him. His eyes were very intense in the dark. She felt that strong magnetic pull again. The chemistry between them was palpable. It buzzed in the air like electricity. I am not always strong, Tori admitted quietly. Sometimes I feel very tired. Sometimes the debt feels like a massive boulder on my shoulders. I worry I will fail. Lachlan stepped closer to her. He did not like seeing her doubt herself. You will not fail. You have a brilliant mind. You have incredible talent. And you do not have to fight this battle all alone. I am used to being alone, Tori whispered. You do not have to be, Lachlan said. His voice was deep and smooth. He slowly lifted his large hand. He gently touched her soft cheek. His fingers were warm and slightly rough. Tori did not pull away. Her heart raced inside her chest. She looked into his eyes. He looked completely captivated by her. The distance between them slowly closed. Lachlan leaned his face down. Tori tilted her head up. She closed her eyes. She could feel his warm breath against her lips. The vibrant scent of wild orchid and wood smoke wrapped completely around them. Just as their lips were about to touch, the heavy glass door opened loudly. "Sir!" a sharp voice called out. Lachlan and Tori quickly pulled apart. Tori took a step back. Her cheeks felt very hot. She quickly smoothed the front of her heavy canvas apron. A royal enforcer stood in the doorway. He wore his dark tactical uniform. He looked very serious. Lachlan turned to look at the guard. His face changed instantly. The gentle man disappeared. The powerful, dangerous leader returned. "What is it?" Lachlan demanded sharply. "Sir, we have an urgent security update," the enforcer said. He kept his voice very professional. "The perimeter sensors picked up movement. We need you to review the data immediately. The politicians are asking questions." Lachlan tightened his jaw. He looked highly annoyed. He hated the interruption. He looked back at Tori. His deep eyes were full of apology. "I have to go handle this," Lachlan said quietly. "It is my job." "I understand," Tori said. She nodded her head. She tried to hide her disappointment. "I need to go back to the kitchen anyway. Delon will need help." "We will finish this conversation later," Lachlan promised. His voice was firm and serious. Tori watched him walk away. The enforcer followed him closely. The terrace felt very empty and cold without him. Tori touched her cheek where his warm hand had been. She took one last deep breath of the night air. Then, she turned around and walked back inside to finish her job. Chapter 11. The night of the gala finally arrived. The massive ballroom was completely transformed. Bright lights shined everywhere. Expensive music played loudly. The wealthy guests wore their best clothes. They laughed and drank expensive wine. Tori stood in a small room near the kitchen. Her hard work was done. The food was perfectly prepared. Now she just needed to present the main appetizers to the host. She needed to look like a professional. Tori took off her heavy canvas apron. She carefully lifted the sleeping swiper from the pocket and set him on a plush armchair. She placed her carbon steel spatula safely in its locked leather sheath. She changed out of her work clothes. She put on a flowing, striking amethyst silk gown. The rich purple color looked beautiful against her fair skin. She let her cascading midnight hair fall freely down her back. She looked in the mirror. She did not look like a stressed chef anymore. She looked stunning and powerful. "You look amazing," Delon said. He stood in the doorway. He wore a clean black suit. "The guests will love the food, and they will respect you." "Thank you, Delon," Tori said. She smiled at her loyal brother. "Stay here and watch the ovens. I will go present the food." Tori walked out of the small room. She walked down the long hallway and entered the grand ballroom. The room was full of people. Tori carried a silver tray of perfectly crafted truffle tarts. She walked gracefully through the crowd. She kept her head high. She felt very confident. On the other side of the room, Lachlan stood with a group of politicians. He wore a luxurious dark suit. He looked towering and incredibly handsome. He was completely bored with the conversation. He hated small talk. Then, Lachlan looked across the room. He saw Tori. Lachlan stopped talking. He completely froze. He stared at her flowing amethyst silk gown. He looked at her dark hair and her bright, fierce eyes. He was absolutely stunned. He had never seen anyone so beautiful in his entire life. For one quick second, Lachlan lost his strict focus. His alpha aura slipped. A wave of strong, dominant power rolled out of his body. A few guests nearby suddenly felt very nervous. They stopped talking and looked around. Lachlan quickly closed his eyes. He pulled his power back inside. He locked his aura down tight. He had to be careful. He could not reveal his kingship yet. Lachlan excused himself from the politicians. He walked straight through the crowd. He did not care about the guests. He only cared about Tori. He stopped right in front of her. "You look absolutely breathtaking," Lachlan said. His deep voice vibrated with total honesty. Tori looked up at him. She felt that strong, magnetic pull again. "Thank you. You clean up very well yourself. You do not have flour in your hair tonight." Lachlan laughed, a low, rich sound. "I promised to stay out of the flour bags. I brought you something else instead." Lachlan handed her a glass of sparkling water with a fresh lemon slice. He remembered that she did not drink alcohol while working. It was a very thoughtful gesture. "Thank you," Tori said. She took the glass. She held her silver tray in her other hand. Lachlan stayed right by her side. He actively courted her. He introduced her to a few wealthy guests. He did not treat her like a servant. He treated her like an equal. He praised her sharp mind and her vibrant energy. He told the guests about her incredible culinary skills. He made sure everyone respected her. Tori was highly impressed. He did not try to show off. He just wanted her to shine. He made her feel important and valued. "You are a very good public speaker," Tori noted politely. "You command the room very easily." "I have a lot of practice," Lachlan replied. He smiled down at her. "But I would rather be in the kitchen with you." Tori felt a bright blush on her cheeks. "The kitchen is much quieter than this party." "Then let us go back to the kitchen," Lachlan suggested playfully. Before Tori could answer, a dark feeling settled over the room. The music suddenly stopped playing. A strange, heavy silence fell over the massive ballroom. Tori looked around. Something felt very wrong. Put his large body between her and the main doors. He was ready to protect her. Chapter 12. The ballroom was too quiet. The wealthy guests looked around in confusion. Tori held her silver tray of truffle tarts tightly. She felt a sudden, cold fear in her chest. She did not know what was happening, but she knew it was bad. Lachlan stood right in front of her. His broad back was like a solid wall. He looked highly alert. His muscles were completely tense. A royal enforcer ran quickly through the crowd. He ran straight to Lachlan. The enforcer looked very worried. He leaned close to Lachlan's ear and whispered a fast message. "Sir, we have a massive problem," the enforcer said quietly. "The outer perimeter is completely broken. Armed men are inside the estate walls. It is Elias. His rogue faction is here." Lachlan tightened his jaw. His golden eyes turned dark with pure anger. Elias was the corrupt alpha who ruined Tori's family. Now, Elias was here to attack his home. Lachlan knew Elias wanted violent vengeance. "Get the guests to the safe rooms," Lachlan commanded softly but firmly. "Lock down the main doors. Do not let them inside this room." "Yes, sir," the enforcer said. He turned and ran to follow the orders. Lachlan turned around to face Tori. He looked at her flowing amethyst silk gown. She looked beautiful, but she was not safe here. "Tori, you need to leave right now," Lachlan said. His voice was completely serious. "You need to go back to the kitchen, find Delon, find Swiper, hide inside the storage room, and lock the heavy metal door." Tori stared at him. "What is wrong? What is happening?" "Elias is here," Lachlan said directly. "His men broke through the gates. They are coming to the house." A cold, paralyzing dread seized Tori's chest. Elias, the terrible man who destroyed her father, the man who caused her exorbitant financial deficit. He was here. "I am not hiding," Tori said firmly. Her dark eyes sparked with anger. "I am not scared of him." "Tori, please," Lachlan begged her. "You do not understand how dangerous this is. These men are heavily armed. They want to kill people. I cannot let you get hurt." Before Tori could argue again, a loud, terrible sound echoed through the estate. It was the sound of a massive explosion outside. Suddenly, all the bright lights in the ballroom completely died. They bumped into tables. They knocked over glasses. The sound of breaking glass filled the air. Complete chaos took over the elegant party. Tori dropped her silver tray and her water glass. The beautiful truffle tarts rolled across the floor as the glass shattered. She reached out in the dark. She grabbed Lachlan's arm. His muscles were hard like solid rock. "Lachlan!" Tori yelled over the loud screaming. "I am right here," Lachlan yelled back. His large hand grabbed her waist. He pulled her close to his chest to protect her from the running crowd. "Stay with me." The heavy wooden doors of the ballroom suddenly exploded inward. The lights swept across the terrified. The lights swept across the terrified guests. Elias walked through the broken doors. He looked rough and dangerous. He wore dark tactical gear. He carried a heavy rifle in his hands. He was followed by 20 large, heavily armed mercenaries. They looked like a pack of wild, angry wolves ready to attack. Elias smiled a cruel, ugly smile. He looked around the room. He was looking for someone very specific. "Good evening, everyone," Elias shouted. His voice was loud and full of hate. "I am looking for the owner of this house. I have a very old debt to collect." Tori stood completely still. She squeezed Lachlan's arm tightly. She knew Elias was dangerous. She knew her family's enemy was finally here. Lachlan did not move away from her. He stood tall and strong in the dark. He kept his large body in front of her. He was ready to fight. He was ready to protect his estate. He was completely ready to protect Tori at all costs. The real battle was about to begin. Chapter 13. The pitch-black ballroom felt like a cold, terrifying tomb. Bright flashlight beams cut through the thick darkness. The harsh white lights swept over the panicked, wealthy guests. The heavy wooden doors lay in splintered ruins on the marble floor. Elias stood proudly in the doorway. He held a heavy tactical rifle. His 20 large mercenaries spread out quickly, forming a deadly, unbreakable wall across the only exit. Elias smiled a ruinous, cruel smile. "I know the owner is hiding in here. Show yourself. I have come to collect what is rightfully mine." Tori stood completely frozen. She gripped Lachlan's strong arm with pale fingers. Her heart hammered against her ribs in a fast, frantic rhythm. She stared directly at Elias. This was the corrupt alpha who caused her family's prohibitive financial disaster. He looked exactly the same as she remembered. He looked like a greedy, violent monster. Lachlan did not move an inch. He kept his broad body firmly in front of Tori to shield her. His lavish dark suit blended perfectly into the deep shadows. He stayed perfectly quiet, his sharp eyes assessing the severe threat. He was a highly trained predator, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Suddenly, a man pushed aggressively through the screaming crowd. It was Delon. He wore his clean black suit, but his tie was pulled loose. He looked highly frantic. He dodged terrified politicians and wealthy socialites. He scanned the dark room until his sharp eyes finally found Tori. He rushed over to her side immediately. "Tori!" Delon whispered loudly. He stopped right next to her. He breathed heavily. He kept his right hand firmly pressed over his left jacket pocket. A small silver head immediately popped out of the dark pocket. Swiper chattered nervously. The ferret looked around the dark, noisy room with wide eyes. "I could not leave him in the small dressing room," Delon explained quickly. "The security alarm started blaring in the kitchen. The temporary workers panicked and ran out the back doors. I grabbed the ferret and ran straight here to find you." "You did the right thing," Tori said. She touched Delon's arm. She felt a tiny bit better, knowing her loyal brother and her pet were close. But their quiet talking drew highly unwanted attention. One of the large mercenaries pointed his bright flashlight directly at their small group. The blinding white beam hit Tori's flowing amethyst silk gown. It lit up her pale skin and cascading hair like a glowing beacon in the dark. Elias turned his head slowly. He looked straight down the long beam of light. His cruel, dark eyes locked right onto Tori's face. He stepped forward, crunching broken wood under his heavy boots. "Well, well," Elias said. His rough voice echoed loudly in the silent, tense room. "Look exactly who we have here. The little chef from my old territory. I remember you, Tori. I remember your pathetic, weak father, too." Tori felt a massive surge of hot, vibrant anger. She stepped out from behind Lachlan's protective back. She completely refused to cower before this terrible man. "You ruined my family, Elias. You are a dirty thief and a complete coward." The wealthy guests gasped in pure shock. They could not believe a simple caterer was speaking so bravely to an armed terrorist. Elias laughed. It was an ugly, highly grating sound. "You always had a big mouth. You never knew your proper place. It seems you need to be taught a permanent, painful lesson tonight." He snapped his fingers loudly. He pointed his finger right at Tori, Delon, and Swiper. "Grab the girl. Make her watch while you kill the men standing with her." 5 massive mercenaries stepped forward from the wall. They pulled out long, wicked combat knives. The metal blades shined in the flashlight beams. They walked quickly and purposefully toward the small group. Delon instantly stepped in front of his sister. He dropped into a solid defensive fighting stance. Swiper hissed loudly from inside the black suit jacket. The brave ferret showed his sharp little teeth at the approaching men. Tori stood her ground perfectly. She wished desperately she had her carbon steel spatula. It was safely locked away in the distant dressing room. She had absolutely no weapon. She only had her unyielding courage. The armed mercenaries closed the distance quickly. The situation was incredibly dire. They were completely cornered against a large table. There was nowhere left to run. Tori braced herself for the violent impact, her dark eyes never leaving the approaching blades. Chapter 14. Tori braced herself for the incoming attack. The 5 massive mercenaries closed in tight. Their long combat knives gleamed under the harsh flashlight beams. The wealthy guests screamed and scrambled backward, leaving a wide, empty circle around Tori, Delin, and Lachlan. The lead mercenary lunged forward. He aimed his sharp blade directly at Tori's shoulder, intending to grab her flowing amethyst silk gown. He never even touched the fabric. Lachlan intercepted the attack with devastating, blinding speed. He moved faster than any normal human or beta ever could. He stepped directly in front of Tori and grabbed the mercenary's wrist. With a sickening crack, Lachlan twisted the man's arm, sending the heavy knife clattering onto the polished marble floor. The mercenary screamed in terrible pain. Lachlan tossed the huge man aside like a broken toy. Elias watched from across the room. His cruel smile vanished instantly. "Shoot him," Elias ordered his remaining men. "Shoot the tall one." Lachlan knew he could not protect Tori while holding back his true nature. The time for hiding was completely over. He closed his eyes for one fraction of a second. He released the immense cognitive discipline he used to hide his identity. He dropped his aura suppression entirely. A massive, suffocating wave of pure, dominant alpha power exploded into the dark ballroom. It hit everyone in the room like a physical force. The wealthy guests fell to their knees, completely paralyzed by the overwhelming, raw authority radiating from the towering man. Tori gasped for air. The sheer power of his true scent, heavy wood smoke, and ancient primal dominance washed over her. The shocking realization hit her brain instantly. The opulent Caelum estate. The highly trained royal enforcers who called him Sir. His absolute hatred for sycophants. The heavy silver signet ring Swiper had stolen in the game room. He was not just an eccentric billionaire guest. He was the ruler of the entire territory. Lachlan was the Alpha King. "Get behind me, Tori," Lachlan commanded. His voice was no longer a polite rumble. It was a terrifying, sonic boom of royal command. Lachlan did not wait for the mercenaries to raise their rifles. He threw his head back and let out a deafening roar. The shifting mechanic took over his body. It required immense caloric energy. His lavish dark suit, his crisp white shirt, and his leather shoes were instantly destroyed, ripping into worthless shreds as his human bones cracked and rapidly reshaped. In less than 3 seconds, the handsome man was completely gone. In his place stood a massive, terrifying midnight wolf. His fur was as black as the dark room. His predatory amber eyes burned like hot fire. He was absolutely gigantic, radiating lethal power and absolute territorial dominance. Tori stared in complete awe. Her proud, independent heart skipped a beat. The king had hidden his true self to spend quiet time in her kitchen. He had patiently let her scold him over a flower disaster. Now, he was unleashing his full monstrous fury simply to protect her life. The giant midnight wolf leaped forward. He crashed into the front line of mercenaries before they could pull their triggers. The impact sent 3 heavily armed men flying backward into a dessert table. Wood shattered and glass broke loudly. "Kill the beast!" Elias screamed, backing away toward the ruined doors. "Use the silver rounds!" The remaining mercenaries recovered from their shock. They raised their heavy rifles and aimed at the massive alpha. Gunfire erupted in the dark room. Bright yellow muzzle flashes lit up the terrifying scene. Lachlan dodged the first volley of bullets with incredible agility. He swiped his massive claws, disarming 2 more men in a single, brutal motion. He fought with terrifying, calculated precision. He was a king, defending his home and his chosen mate. But there were simply too many guns. The mercenaries relied heavily on their overwhelming numerical superiority. They formed a tight circle, forcing Lachlan backward toward the center of the room. Tori watched the giant wolf fight. She saw him take a glancing hit to his shoulder. She refused to just stand there and watch him get hurt. She was not a helpless victim. She looked at Delon. Her loyal brother nodded his head. They both knew exactly what they had to do. The time for serving appetizers was completely over. It was time to join the brutal war. Chapter 15. The battle inside the dark ballroom was incredibly brutal. The loud sounds of heavy gunfire and snarling wolves echoed off the high ceiling. Lachlan, in his massive alpha form, fought fiercely. He threw mercenaries across the room with terrifying strength. But Elias's men were highly trained and heavily armed. They kept a safe distance, firing tactical rounds to keep the giant midnight wolf trapped in the center of the room. Lachlan lunged at a mercenary, reloading his rifle. Suddenly, Elias stepped out from the shadows. The corrupt former alpha held a long, silver-edged spear. Elias thrust the weapon forward with violent vengeance. The sharp silver blade sliced deeply into Lachlan's side. The massive wolf let out a thunderous roar of pain. Because werewolf healing is accelerated but not instantaneous, the deep laceration immediately bled. The silver burned his flesh. Lachlan stumbled backward, taking heavy damage. The mercenaries cheered and closed their circle tighter, sensing a clear victory. "No!" Tori screamed. She watched the king take the terrible hit. "I have him!" Delon shouted. Delon did not hesitate. He swiftly ripped off his clean black suit jacket and tossed it onto the marble floor. Swiper, the silver ferret, tumbled out of the pocket and landed safely on the ground. Delon let out a loud, challenging roar. The shifting process consumed his body. His white shirt and trousers tore into pieces as he transformed. He shifted into a large, muscular brown beta wolf. Delon possessed absolute loyalty to his family. He charged directly into the line of mercenaries to protect his sister's flank. The brown beta wolf hit a mercenary like a speeding truck. Delon clamped his strong jaws around the man's rifle, ripping the weapon completely out of his hands. He tossed the gun away and knocked the man to the floor. Delon fought wildly, disrupting the enemy's tight circle and taking the heavy pressure off Lachlan. Down on the floor, Swiper, the domestic ferret, decided to join the brutal fight. The hyperactive, feisty pet darted through the chaotic maze of heavy boots. Swiper loved to bite. He found a mercenary aiming a gun at Delon. Swiper ran up behind the man and viciously bit his unprotected ankle. "Ah!" the mercenary screamed, jumping in surprise. He dropped his aim and kicked wildly at the tiny silver blur. Swiper let go, chattered a loud, judgmental warning, and immediately darted to another rogue. He bit the next man's calf. The tiny ferret caused critical distractions everywhere he went. The highly trained soldiers panicked, swinging their guns at the floor to hit the fast-moving animal. Lachlan used the sudden distraction to his advantage. Despite his bleeding side, the giant alpha wolf surged forward. He knocked the silver spear right out of Elias's hands. Elias cursed loudly and shifted into his own wolf form, a ragged, ugly gray beast. The two alphas clashed violently in the center of the dark room, biting and tearing at each other. Tori stood near the wall. She watched her brother fight bravely. She watched her ferret attack armed men. She watched the Alpha King bleed because he tried to protect her from her own past. Tori looked down at her flowing amethyst silk gown. It was a stunning, expensive dress, but it was completely useless in a war. She refused to be a helpless bystander. She refused to let Elias win again and cause another ruinous disaster. She possessed relentless ambition and a fierce, independent spirit. She belonged in this fight. Tori closed her eyes. She reached deep inside herself and pulled on her supernatural energy. She did not bother to carefully remove her clothes. She did not care about the cost. She let the shift take her. The immense caloric energy burned through her body. The beautiful amethyst silk gown shredded into useless purple ribbons as her bones cracked and reformed. In a flash of bright movement, Tori shifted into her sleek, beautiful silver omega form. Her fur shined even in the dark shadows, her sharp eyes locked onto the chaotic battlefield. She let out a clear, ringing howl that echoed above the loud gunfire. She gathered her strength, ready to provide the essential, dangerous backup her family and her king desperately needed. Chapter 16. Tori launched herself into the chaotic brawl. In her sleek silver omega form, she moved with incredible fluid grace. She did not have the raw, massive power of an alpha, but she possessed amazing speed and sharp tactical instincts. She saw a large mercenary aiming a heavy pistol right at Delon's blind spot. Tori sprinted across the broken marble floor. She leaped high into the air and slammed into the man's chest. Her silver paws knocked the heavy gun from his hands. The mercenary hit the ground hard, completely stunned by her sudden attack. Delon, in his brown beta form, saw his sister join the fight. He let out a short bark of approval. Together, the siblings moved with perfectly synchronized precision. When a rogue tried to stand up, Delon knocked him back down. When a mercenary reached for a dropped knife, Tori swiftly kicked the weapon away. Across the room, the alpha battle raged on. Lachlan and Elias tore into each other with violent fury. Elias fought dirty, snapping at Lachlan's bleeding laceration. Lachlan absorbed the heavy pain. He fought with honorable, lethal authority. The mate bond between Lachlan and Tori suddenly flared to life amidst the visceral combat. Lachlan felt her bright, vibrant presence in the room. It gave him a massive surge of fresh energy. He tackled the ugly gray wolf, pinning Elias firmly to the floor. But the remaining mercenaries saw their corrupt leader falling. 10 armed men rushed forward to help Elias. They pointed their rifles directly at Lachlan, Delon, and Tori. The 3 wolves backed up, forming a tight, defensive triangle in the center of the dark ballroom. Swiper the silver ferret quickly darted into the center of the circle, hiding safely between Tori's paws. They were completely surrounded. Their stamina rapidly waned under the relentless, overwhelming assault. Lachlan was bleeding heavily. Delon was panting hard. Tori felt her muscles burning from the intense caloric drain. All hope seemed totally lost as the mercenaries prepared to fire their final, deadly volley. Suddenly, a thunderous, terrifying howl echoed from the hallway outside. The splintered remains of the heavy wooden doors were completely blown away. Lachlan's highly trained royal enforcers and loyal pack wolves breached the room. They poured into the dark ballroom in a spectacular, unstoppable display of pure loyalty. They carried bright tactical lights and heavy weapons. They did not hesitate. The enforcers crashed into Elias's rogue faction like a massive tidal wave. The enemy forces were completely decimated in seconds. The highly trained guards quickly disarmed the terrified mercenaries, forcing them to the floor and locking heavy iron shackles around their wrists. Elias shifted back into his human form. He lay on the ground, completely naked, bruised, and thoroughly defeated. 2 large enforcers grabbed his arms, ignoring his lack of dignity, and dragged him roughly to his feet. They placed thick metal chains around his wrists. "You are finished, Elias," the lead enforcer stated with a cold, flat voice. "You will face immediate execution for attacking the king." Elias glared at Lachlan with pure hate, but he had lost. The draconian warning was clear. His corrupt network was completely broken. The enforcers dragged the screaming man out of the ballroom. The intense battle was finally over. The loud room grew quiet, except for the sound of heavy breathing and crying guests slowly emerging from the corners. Lachlan shifted back into his human form. He stood completely naked in the strobe-lit room, ignoring his lack of clothing as the enforcer's tactical lights swept the walls. He clutched his bleeding side. He looked exhausted, but his eyes were full of deep relief. Tori shifted back as well. She knelt on the cold floor among the shredded purple ribbons of her destroyed silk gown. Delon shifted back, quickly grabbing a discarded tablecloth to cover himself. He tossed a second cloth to Tori. Tori wrapped the white fabric around her shoulders. She looked up at the towering Alpha King. He had risked his entire life, his secret identity, and his estate, just to protect her from her past. Lachlan walked slowly over to her. He ignored his painful wounds. He reached down and gently offered her his large, blood-stained hand. "Are you hurt?" Lachlan asked softly. Tori placed her hand in his. She let him pull her gently to her feet. "I am fine," she whispered. She looked at his deep laceration. "But you need a healer immediately." Swiper popped his head out from under the discarded tablecloth. The ferret chattered a tired, victorious sound. They had survived the impossible night. But Tori knew the biggest conversation of her life was waiting for her tomorrow. Chapter 17. The grand ballroom was a complete wreck. Broken tables and shattered glass covered the marble floor. The heavy wooden doors were completely gone. The royal enforcers moved quickly, leading the terrified guests out of the dark room into the safe areas of the estate. Lachlan sat heavily on a broken chair. An enforcer had hastily draped a torn velvet banner across his lap for modesty, and Lachlan held a linen napkin tightly against his bleeding side. The deep laceration from the silver spear burned like hot fire. His eyes looked very tired, but he never took them off Tori. Tori stood a few feet away. She held the discarded white tablecloth tightly around her bare shoulders. Her bare feet touched the cold marble. She felt exhausted from the immense caloric drain of her shift. Swiper, the silver ferret, rested quietly on her bare shoulder. Delon stood next to her, wearing a similar white tablecloth. A team of pack healers rushed into the ballroom. They carried large wooden boxes filled with traditional botanical salves and clean bandages. They moved straight to the Alpha King. "Sire, stay perfectly still," the lead healer commanded softly. She opened a small jar. The strong smell of crushed pine and mint filled the air. Lachlan gritted his teeth. The healer quickly cleaned the glancing bullet wound on his shoulder, then applied the thick green salve directly onto the deep silver laceration on his side. Because werewolf healing is accelerated but not instantaneous, the silver burn needed strong medicine to close. Lachlan let out a low groan of pain, but he did not pull away. "Check them too," Lachlan ordered the healers. He pointed a large finger at Tori and Delon. Two younger healers quickly walked over to the siblings. They checked Delon for cuts, finding only small scratches. Then they checked Tori. She had a few minor bruises from the hard marble floor, but nothing serious. "I am fine," Tori told the healer politely. She pulled her white cloth tighter. She looked across the room at the towering Alpha King. Her mind raced with a million thoughts. The man who baked bread in her kitchen. The man who brought her crimson rock salt. The man who rubbed the back of his neck when he felt nervous. He was the king. He had lied to her since the very first day. Lachlan watched her face. He saw the strict anger building in her beautiful dark eyes. He knew exactly what she was thinking. "Tori," Lachlan started. His deep voice sounded weak from the blood loss. "Please, let me explain." "Explain what?" Tori asked sharply. She walked slowly toward him. Her bare feet avoided the broken glass. "Explain that you are the absolute ruler of this entire territory? Explain that you let me treat you like a foolish guest while you secretly held all the power?" "I did not want you to act like my sycophants," Lachlan said honestly. He did not care that the healers were listening. "I wanted you to treat me like a normal person." "You lied," Tori stated flatly. She stopped right in front of him. She felt incredibly hurt. She possessed a fierce, independent spirit, and she hated being manipulated. "You knew about my astronomical debt. You knew Elias ruined my family. And you never told me you had the absolute power to stop him." Lachlan looked down at his blood-stained hands. "I wanted to earn your trust first. If I told you I was the king, you would have completely closed yourself off. You would have looked at me like a massive bank account, just like everyone else does." Tori tightened her jaw. She hated that his logic made sense, but she refused to surrender her anger so easily. "I demand total transparency from now on," Tori said. Her voice was lethal and cold. "If we are going to work together, there are no more masks, no more hidden rings, no more lies." Lachlan looked up into her eyes. He saw the strict boundaries she was setting. He nodded his head slowly. "I swear it. Total transparency." The healer finished wrapping a thick white bandage around Lachlan's torso. "You need days of complete rest, sire. The silver damage is severe." Lachlan ignored the healer. He only cared about the beautiful, angry chef standing in front of him. "Will you stay, Tori? Will you let me make this right?" Tori looked at his pale, sweating face. She felt the undeniable mate bond pulling at her heart. She sighed softly. "I will stay, but you have a lot of work to do." Chapter 18. 2 days passed slowly in the Caelum estate. The power grid was completely repaired. The maintenance crew installed new, solid oak doors in the ballroom. The terrible mess was entirely cleaned up. Tori spent the days working in the main kitchen. The high-paying catering contract was officially over, but she stayed to cook for the enforcers and the healers. It kept her mind busy. She wore her heavy canvas apron again. Her carbon steel spatula was safely back in her hand. Swiper the ferret slept happily in her reinforced pocket. Delon worked quietly beside her. "You are very quiet today," Delon noted. He chopped fresh onions with his usual fast speed. "I am thinking," Tori replied. She stirred a large pot of warm soup. "Lachlan is recovering upstairs. The healers say his laceration is closing well." "He took a very dangerous hit for us," Delon pointed out pragmatically. "He might have lied about his crown, but he fought like a true alpha to protect you." Tori knew Delon was right. She could not ignore Lachlan's brave sacrifice. Later that afternoon, Tori prepared a small silver tray. She placed a bowl of hot, healing soup and a fresh truffle tart on the tray. She walked out of the kitchen and slowly climbed the grand staircase. She reached the royal bedroom. The heavy wooden doors were open. Lachlan sat up in his large bed. He wore loose, dark trousers and no shirt. Thick white bandages wrapped tightly around his broad chest and side. He looked tired, but his face brightened instantly when he saw her. "You brought me food," Lachlan said. His voice was soft and highly grateful. Tori walked into the room. She gently set the silver tray on the small table next to his bed. The healer said you need calories to heal properly. Thank you, Lachlan said. He reached out and gently touched her wrist. And thank you for coming to see me. Tori did not pull her hand away. She stood next to the bed. Her striking features were serious. You promised me total transparency. Lachlan nodded. He looked deeply into her beautiful eyes. He completely dropped all of his defenses. He showed her his pure vulnerability. I am sorry I deceived you, Lachlan said humbly. My whole life is a performance. I have to project raw, lethal authority every single minute. When I walked into your kitchen that first day, you completely ignored my aura. You scolded me. You hit me with your steel spatula. It was the most refreshing moment of my entire life. Tori listened carefully. She heard the deep, quiet loneliness in his voice. I desperately needed a genuine connection, Lachlan continued. I wanted you to like me for who I am, not for the crown I wear. But I was wrong to hide the truth when you told me about Elias. I should have told you I could help. Tori felt her strict anger finally melt away. She understood his massive fear of being used. She gently moved her hand and placed her fingers softly against his warm cheek. You are an idiot, Tori whispered softly. A small, witty smile touched her lips. I do not care about your money or your crown. I care about the man who ruined my dough and bought me crimson rock salt. Lachlan let out a long, shaky breath of pure relief. He leaned his face into her soft hand. Then you forgive me? I accept your apology, Tori compromised. She let her vibrant scent of wild orchid and black pepper fill the quiet room. But if you ever lie to me again, I will let Swiper bite your ankles. Lachlan laughed, a warm, rich sound that made his injured side ache slightly. He completely ignored the pain. He reached up and pulled her gently down to sit on the edge of his bed. I promise, no more lies. Only the truth from now on. Chapter 19. The soft light of the late afternoon filled the royal bedroom. Tori sat quietly on the edge of Lachlan's large bed. The heavy tension between them was completely gone. In its place, a profound, undeniable mate bond hummed in the air. Lachlan looked at her. He studied her cascading hair and her beautiful, expressive eyes. He felt incredibly lucky. He slowly moved closer to her. He ignored the dull ache of the healing laceration on his side. You are beautiful, Lachlan whispered. His voice was a deep, velvet rumble. Tori felt a bright blush heat her supple cheeks. She did not look away. She felt completely safe with him. She knew he possessed raw, massive power, but he treated her with incredible gentleness. Lachlan lifted his large hand. He gently traced the line of her jaw with his thumb. His touch sent a sudden, electric jolt straight through her body. Tori leaned into his hand, closing her eyes for a brief second. I have wanted to do this since you hit me with your spatula, Lachlan admitted quietly. Tori smiled. She opened her eyes. You are very stubborn. I am very focused, Lachlan corrected softly. He leaned his face down. Tori did not pull back. She tilted her head up to meet him. Their lips finally touched. The kiss was not rough or rushed. It was incredibly tender and deeply profound. Lachlan's lips were warm and firm. He kissed her like she was the most precious thing in his entire world. Tori felt the massive weight of her past completely wash away. She did not feel lonely anymore. She felt completely anchored. She raised her small hands and placed them gently on his broad, bare chest. She was careful to avoid his thick white bandages. She felt his strong, steady heartbeat under her palms. The intoxicating surrender completely consumed her. She gave in to the powerful chemistry they had fought for so long. Lachlan wrapped his strong arm carefully around her waist. He pulled her flush against his side. The scent of heavy wood smoke mixed perfectly with her vibrant, wild orchid. The mate bond snapped fully into place, a bright, invisible string connecting their souls together permanently. When they finally broke the kiss, Tori rested her forehead against his chin. She breathed heavily. Her heart felt incredibly full. "That was much better than playing billiards," Tori whispered. Lachlan chuckled softly. The vibration felt warm against her chest. "I completely agree. I think we should drop our solitary habits permanently." Tori pulled back slightly to look at his handsome face. "I am a very busy chef. I have a highly lucrative business to rebuild." "And I have a territory to run," Lachlan replied. He smiled his bright, genuine smile. "But we can do it together. You run the kitchen, and I will run the estate. We will make a perfect, balanced team." "As long as you stay out of my flour bins," Tori joked, her witty sarcasm returning. "I swear to never touch a whisk again," Lachlan promised solemnly. He kissed her forehead gently. They sat together in the quiet room for a long time. They just enjoyed the simple, peaceful moment. They did not need to fight anymore. They did not need to hide. The truth was completely out in the open, and it felt absolutely perfect. Tori knew her life was going to change forever, and for the first time in years, she was completely excited about the future. Chapter 20. Epilogue. 3 months later, the Caelum estate was bright and full of vibrant life. The dark memories of the attack were completely gone. Lachlan sat comfortably on his large, carved stone throne in the main hall. He wore a crisp, dark suit. He looked incredibly healthy and powerful. The deep, silver laceration had completely healed over the past few months, leaving him fully restored to his lethal, commanding presence. He held a thick stack of official papers in his hands. He signed his name with a heavy gold pen. "It is done," Lachlan announced to the room. Tori stood next to his throne. She wore a beautiful dark red dress. She looked stunning and incredibly happy. Delon stood nearby, holding a small silver tray with 2 glasses of expensive champagne. Lachlan firmly handed the signed papers to a waiting enforcer. "Elias's corrupt financial network is completely dismantled. The stolen funds have been returned to the bank. Tori, your family's staggering debt is entirely eradicated. The restaurant building legally belongs to you again." Tori felt a massive wave of pure joy hit her chest. The crushing anxiety of the past was permanently lifted from her life. She had won. With Lachlan's powerful help, she had saved her family's proud legacy. "Thank you, Lachlan," Tori said. Her expressive eyes shone with happy tears. Lachlan stood up from his throne. He walked over to her and wrapped his arms around her waist. "You earned it, Tori. You fought just as hard as I did." Delon walked forward and handed them the champagne glasses. "To the future," Delon said, with a wide, stunning smile. "And to staying out of the way when my sister is cooking." Tori laughed with a bright, beautiful sound. She clinked her glass against Lachlan's glass. "To the future." They drank the sweet wine. The room felt incredibly peaceful. Lachlan and Tori ruled the estate together now. Their dynamic was completely balanced. She brought endless good vibes and sharp wit into his heavy life. She never imposed her views on his politics, but she always offered him honest, grounding advice when he asked for it. "I need to go back to the kitchen," Tori said playfully. She rested her hand on his chest. "I have a new menu to test for the grand reopening of the restaurant." "I will come watch you," Lachlan promised. He smiled his genuine, warm smile. "From a safe distance." Tori turned to walk away, but she stopped. She looked back at the empty throne. Sitting right on the arm of the Alpha King's massive chair was Swiper. The silver ferret was fast asleep. He was curled into a small, tight ball. Tucked securely under his tiny paws was a highly polished, incredibly shiny silver spoon. Lachlan followed her gaze. He saw the sleeping thief and chuckled softly. He habitually rubbed the back of his neck. "He stole that from my personal dining set," Lachlan noted. "He has very expensive taste," Tori replied with a proud smirk. Lachlan wrapped his arm around her shoulders. He pulled her close as they walked out of the hall together. "I suppose I can let him keep it. He fought bravely in the war." Tori leaned her head against his strong shoulder. The scent of wood smoke and wild orchid trailed behind them. They walked toward the busy kitchen, ready to face the bright, wonderful future together, leaving the stubborn ferret to happily guard his stolen royal treasure. The end. Quick favor, don't go anywhere yet. If you thought Tori was brave for threatening the Alpha King with a spatula and banning him from her kitchen, wait until you meet the heroine in this next story on your screen. You have to hear this romantasy disaster unfold. Click the video on your screen right now. It is absolutely unhinged.